Okay, I think I'm streaming right now. Let's see. Nice, we are streaming here. So, today, yesterday I streamed. I got a little bit stuck, if I'm being honest. But I ended up figuring out, and I had already figured it out before, and I just refigured it out, and I remembered how exactly to handle a certain case. So I'm just going to go ahead real quick. Added some library stuff. So I did a couple things off stream, and I'm going to walk away from my computer, but I have my headset on so I can still talk. So, net, I was figuring out where my... Okay, sorry. I was grabbing my water glass. So, I figured out where in my hierarchy I needed to handle... it's a really good case, so we're actually going to go over it. Let me just change my battery in my mouse here. And I will walk you guys through it, because this is just as much for documenting for me, but even if you don't do MVU, or if you are doing MVU, but just in general, this is a really good kind of learning experience. At least it was for me, because I've already done this once before, but I just forgotten. Oh, I put my battery backwards in my mouse, didn't I? Whoopsie daisy. Okay. So, okay. So what did we fix? So we were working on core skill. And our problem was that we were trying to figure out, okay, we know a core skill, and actually, what's really cool now, let me show you guys this. We can actually run our application now. So we fixed it so we weren't getting any errors, and we're actually going ahead and we're actually compiling now. So 1 second here. Let this load up. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. So, if I drag this over here, we actually do have our character sheet here. It isn't ridiculously zoomed in for some reason. So we actually have our character sheet here. And you can see here, we can add levels to our different skills. They update the dice pool. We can add it to our strength here, and it updates the dice pool below. We can do negative reflex. So all this is working. So essentially our problem was, we were trying to determine, hey, how do we handle when our user goes ahead and says, hey, our user has just clicked one of these buttons and changed the level here. How do we go ahead and update our level, but then also update this dice pool beside it here? When the dice pool has, it needs to be aware of the context of the entire character sheet. So basically, at the bottom at one of the lowest children of the entire stack, how do we know when that updates? How do we know that when that updates, we go ahead and have to update that dice pool as well? You might say just handle it within that same message, or within the update for that message. But the problem is, again, we don't have the context we need in order to solve our problem. We need all this context of the entire character sheet also. You could, as part of your update, just daisy chain down as part of the input. like as its own separate field, that information that you need. That is one way to do it. It's kind of going against the whole functional programming idea where you only pass down exactly what you need to solve it, but it's close. It's in the ballpark. You actually want to pass it down as a message. So the information that you need to actually calculate that dice pool should get passed down as a message. But then you might go, okay, well then who's responsible for calling that message? So, you know, user dispatches they change the level, that gets updated, but then how do I know that after that, who's in charge of after that rerunning the dice calculation? And if you think about it for a second, there's really only one obvious answer. It's the guy who, wherever in the child parent stack, wherever the guy is aware of both the context of the level, so he's aware that he has the information that you could use to calculate the dice pool, and he's aware that the message just got shot off to change something on the dice pools. And what that means is that's going to be at character. So if we look at our stack here, so we have core skill here, and then we have core skill list, which is a list of core skills, and then we have an attribute in core skill, which is an attribute stacked on top of a core skill list, and then we have attribute in core skills list. So this is a list of attribute and core skills. So this is where we get this over here. You can see the different stackings. So then, the question will become, if I come over to here, where in this chain? Well, it actually is at the very top up here at the character. It is character, if we look here, so character here, this is like the entire character sheet. And right now, the only two actions we have is set name and attribute and core skill list message. So set name is just literally, I could change my name here to Javk and it would work, or you could do Javquick. But if we do that, well, that's great. But what happens when we get an attribute and core skill list message coming in? Well, what we should do is go ahead and run whatever that message is. So whenever we receive, hey, there's a new attribute and core skill list message, we go ahead, we address that message, and then we know that whenever a message is run like this, we're going to have to recalculate these dice pools, because we know that, hey, if strength has changed to 4, then all the things in here need to get recalculated. And so then in character is the guy with the context. He's the one that's aware of what changed, and therefore he will be the one that says, hey, go ahead and run that update, get our new attribute and core skill list here. This doesn't have the new dice pools. We still need to calculate the new dice pools. And then for what we send back with our model, whatever we set as our model, we're just going to call another update on it, and we're going to call this calculate dice pool. And calculate dice pool is just a series of messages that goes down and that says, hey, the guy below me calculate dice pool. Hey, the guy below me calculate dice pools. Hey, the guy below me calculate dice pools. And eventually at the core skill where it actually does calculate the dice pool. And then you just feed it the actual context, the information that it needs in order to run that calculation. So you pass down all the things that the top level is aware of, and you pass it down to the little component. It runs the calculation, bada bing, bada boom. You also have to be careful here where whatever your new attribute and core skill list is here, you do want to go ahead and make sure that you are, after you call this update the first time to change the level, so after you address what the user did, you need to make sure that whenever you feed the model, you're using that as the new model. So you're using that for your calculation. Then you're not using the old model. You're using the new model. And yeah, that's what we figured out. Then the other big thing that I did, and to be honest, there's even a way I think we can make this even better. one way you can make it even better would be you could digest the first message here, and this first message will give you a bit of information about what position and what like the position in the list, so you don't have to re-update the entire list every time. We can do that at some point, but for right now, this is more than adequate. This is really good, actually. The other thing that I went ahead and did is, let me turn on the music just a little bit. The other thing that I did is I went ahead and moved over a bunch more information, or a bunch more library stuff. So I made like damage types. So I brought over a bunch of the old functions from the old character sheet stuff, and I ported it over to the new repo here. And because what I wanted to do today, there were a couple things I wanted to do today. Today, I wanted to focus really hard on vocations and bringing data over from the server onto the client. And we're going to start with probably bringing stuff over from the client. And what that's going to look like is in server, we are going to go ahead and we're going to finish taking in all this data here. So like type damage, all this stuff. So we'll take in all the data from the CSV files that exist in our Fogent roleplay data. And then with that, we are going to, excuse me guys, hold on. Freaking dying here. And then with that information here, we're going to go ahead and take that data, and we're going to pass it over to our client to begin using. Actually, real quickly here, I am going to I am sending something in the F# Discord right now. Okay. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. The main thing here is we're going to be trying to get over a bunch of this data from these CSV files, and also clean up these CSV files, to be honest. So the first thing we're going to do is damage type here. So this is going to be a pretty good instructional here of hypothetically how you'd get data from your server across the wire to your client in SafeStack. And we're going to be using Fable remoting. I haven't done this in a minute, but I do have example code here, so I'm sure I can figure out my way through it. So the first thing I know is that in order to work with damage type here, we are going to want to open up our Fogent library, and we're going to want to grab damage type. So now we have damage type, and all the damage type library gives us is that a damage type is a string, and that we get a couple functions here. One is damage types to string, and this guy just takes in a damage type list and he converts it to a list with concatenates what's it called between them. And actually, to be honest, this should be in the string utils. This shouldn't live here. This should be in string utils, because this would be applicable for any this would be applicable to any like the limiting commas here. So actually, we're gonna go ahead and copy this and move this guy over here to string utils. And we're going to rename this thing here. String list to string separated by commas. What a name. But it's what it's doing. Okay. So we got this now. Whoops. And we're going to go ahead and say string here. So now we did a little bit of cleaning up our code here. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and commit that while I'm at it, just so I have a nice clean slate here as we begin to kind of learn, or not learn, but I'm going to show how to move data across the wire from your server to your client in SafeStack. So we're going to do fixed library. So just move some stuff there. So we're over here on server. And what we're trying to do is move over data that lives in our get submodule in Fogent Roleplay data. So this is the data for our tabletop roleplay game. And right here we have damage. So we have the damage types that exist within our game. So there's slash, pierce, bludgeoning, hew, shockwave, fire, all these cool ones. And what we want to do is digest this and then pass it across the wire to our client. And I want to find a better way to do it, but what we're currently going to do is turn things like this into a dictionary. So I'm going to pass across the line a dictionary that is going to be basically a mapping of the string to the string again. The way I can use that is then I can check every time I digest something over on the client that's supposed to be a damage type. I can check, hey, was this actually, like, did you give me the correct thing? Because if it doesn't pass through as a key in the dictionary, or in the map, rather, in F# it's called a map, then we'll have a problem. So I'm going to run here. So again, we're moving damage type over. So we have our CSV data here. We go over here. We open up our damage type module from our library. We come on down here. And the first thing we're going to do, uncomment this. The way we're importing this, we're using F# data. It has a CSV file reader for us that's really convenient. So, hey Edgar, what's up? I am right now. I'm trying to get better. Actually, no, it's funny, Edgar. Edgar, were you the one that worked on? Is it Fabulous? That's the. It's a UI library for F# for mobile development. I forget. Because actually, eventually, after I finish up doing this, I want to go. Oh, dude, I'm gonna. And at some point, I'd love to talk to you about it if you got time. I want to take. I'm building the MVU structure for SafeStack here, and I'd like to find a way. Because if I'm not mistaken, Fabulous also can use MVU if you want to, and so I wanted to see if like I could write my code for this, decouple it into just the update logic, and then to go ahead eventually and run it with like Fabulous or something. But we're just going to go ahead and do this. So I'm going to do this. So we have a couple simple things here. This is just getting our file path. So this is just pushing up in the, yeah, that's going to be really cool. I'm really excited for that. So we got a function here that just is pointing to where our get submodule is with all of our CSV files. This little function right here called make fallen data. I actually need to change this to make Fogent data now. Because this guy actually, fallen is the setting for my TTRPG. Fogent is the actual game. Okay. But all this guy does is he goes ahead, he grabs the CSV data and he turns it into a list. So each row, it's a list of rows. And then here, I just got a really easy definition for bool that I can use for checking in when there's like true or false in my CSV files. So then all we're doing here is we're saying, hey, our damage type data, we run make Fogent roleplay data, we give it the name of the file, which is damage type here, and then we go ahead, we digest the CSV row, we extract out under the description of each of these the damage type. So then we have a damage type list. So we can go ahead and save that, and I can say added damage type data. Okay, then we can do a couple other things here that we're going to make some utility functions essentially. So then what we want is the ability to digest a bunch of different strings that are damage types and check if they are. So, or actually no. Yes, I'm sorry. So then you could say, okay, well, we did this really easy case here of doing damage type data.csv, which is just a bunch of CSV rows. But what about some of the more complicated data? What if we go over here to weapon class data? And then under weapon class, you'll see that like a torch, for instance, it has 2 different damage types, even though it's one weapon. So it does fire and bludgeoning damage. And we want to go ahead and digest that, so it's really simple. We make a function that takes in a string and it converts it to a damage type list. And all it's going to do is take in whatever that, it's going to use this damage type up here. It's going to create a map, so going from a string to a damage type. And then we're going to feed that map into string and map to damage type list. And this guy gives us a function now that we just provided a string, and it gives us a list of damage type, which is awesome. Okay, I will commit that, and then we're going to do the engage with opponents one here. But this is like, so we're just reading in data right now, super duper easy. And I'm going to read in probably 2 more CSV files, and then I'm going to show how to get it across. Well, because what we're going to do, we don't want to pass everything across the wire. It's just too much work. What we'd rather do is take in all the data, and then the second it comes in into our server, we're typing it. So we're bringing it in and we're typing it, and we're constructing the things that we're gonna need. And then once we have these more mature list of types that we can actually use for the character sheet over here. So for when we bring it over here, we're only going to pass over when that data has been verified and that it is kind of in the form that we need it. Like there's no point in passing over just all the damage types that exist at this point. maybe at some point if I build some UI where people can build their own weapons and stuff in like UI format, that'd be pretty cool. Okay, I'm gonna say here, added a string util function. Okay, and then we're gonna do the same thing here for engageable opponents. So this is like damage type in, or this is like multi-attack in D&D if you come from a D&D background. Okay. He's getting angry at me. How come? Because engageable opponents doesn't exist yet, I believe. So we need to drag it over from our library. So we can say open Fogent roleplay lib dot engageable opponents, and then we can come down here, and he looks happy now. And so again, super duper simple. It's .NET, so it can't be any easier to bring in data, right? So if we just go over here, we have our and actually, so the way I separated here, these are just engageable opponents calculations. So depending on how many dice you'll roll, that's how many enemies depending you can attack. So like, and it depends on a weapon by weapon basis. But if we looked over at the, if I go over here to the actual old stuff, or not the old stuff, to the actually, I need my codium, don't I? Just doing some Nixon stuff here, don't worry. Get Nixie with it. But over here, so if we look at like a character sheet here, which is what we're building up to, we want, these will be our engageable opponents. So it's gonna represent things on our weapon classes and how many people we can attack, but we're actually going to go ahead and do those calculations for people. It's gonna be really, really nice. So again, we can look at our engageable opponents calculation just to kind of show people how the data is coming in. And so literally engageable like opponent calculation just says, hey, what's its name? And actually, that is one thing I want to change here. I want to change all these where I wrote description to name. So we'll fix that right now, actually. Because that's like across my entire code base, it's a name of an engageable opponent calculation. It's not a description of it. That all looks good. We can go back over to our server now and change it from description. So whenever we're digesting in the data, we do need to go ahead and we access each of the CSV rows with dot brackets. But we want to be careful here. We need to pass in the exact string of the header over in the CSV file. Again, I want to eventually run this as a database, but I'll have to learn more about how SafeStack usually likes to do that, though I think we can honestly use like anything we want. I think it's really customizable. So then we have name here. That all looks good to me. Also over here with damage type here, I also did description here. We're going to change this to name, and we will change this over here to name because we do not want it to be, we want to keep consistency in our application or in our development because otherwise I'm going to drive myself insane. Okay, cool. Then we can go ahead here, just like for string or for damage types, we can make a map that takes in a string and it maps it to an engageable opponent. That way, again, whenever we're digesting data later down from like weapon classes and stuff, we can double check, hey, what you're giving me, does it fit into my map and does it give out a value in my map? If not, then we go ahead and we could get an error and we can see when things break. Cool. And let's just double check here. I'm going to relaunch my server here and just make sure that that data is coming in now. If not, our command line here will tell us. And I'm going to say fixed headers. reading in damage type and engageable opponents. Okay, back over to server here. So, okay, now we can do range here. So the way we'll do range, same thing as before. And this is a little bit tedious here because it's basically just moving over data from my old project right now. But once we get enough of these moved over, we'll have a bunch of these maps. And with those maps, we can start digesting larger pieces of data like weapon types. We can, you know, start digesting weapon types. But until we have all the base information of like the ranges weapons can have, the damage types that they can have, all that stuff, then we can't really proceed forward. So we have to do this groundwork. And then this guy's angry because it doesn't have range yet. So we're going to go ahead up to our top here. We'll open up our Hey Edgar, if you're still in the chat, are there any examples of anybody doing kind of what I talked about, where you can use an MVU application and then like a structure of your folder where like it's both being digested by like Fabulous or like Save Stack or something else? I'm curious if there is. I'd love to, because I was driving to the gym the other day and I was thinking about this. And I was wondering if there was a way where how you'd set up the folders so that like it was clean and everything and that you were digesting everything. Okay, so now we got range. We can do a couple other things here. And I should say we did get calculated range here. So this is not, this is a range calculation. In Fogent, unlike D&D, as you roll more dice with your weapon, your actual dice, as your dice pool grows, the range at which you can hit things goes up slowly as well. So this is a range calculation. We can also define here so we can get the calculated range data and the range calculation data. So one is like a calculation that can run, and the other is if we just want to set it like, hey, this weapon can only shoot this far no matter what. So I'm going to say Fogent Roleplay data. Alrighty. And then we have that. We can go ahead and construct our range map here. So again, we have this now to where we can read in ranges and we can digest that information. So I'm going to save all this. The one other thing we're going to do is also construct this range option map. So if I remember, this is for certain ammo types where, like, if you had like a match grade rifle bullet or like a special air that flew further, it can change the range of your weapon. And if it does, then you want to go ahead and account for that. So that's what the range option map here is for. It's for like item or weapon resource class stuff. So like bullets, arrows, and if that has a different thing that modifies what the base thing on the weapon should be, then we can use that. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this. Let's say brought over range data. And what we are going to do, so now we have our, and what's really cool, like this. So why are we importing all this stuff? Oh, do I already have? So you might say, why are we importing all this data? Well, this is the stuff at the top here. So we need to know what the different ranges are, what the different damage types are, what the different engageable opponents are. And for each of these weapons, we need to be able to digest what these mean and construct larger types with these, and then we're gonna have a list of these objects made of these types, and then that's what will pass across the wire to our client. So then we're gonna go back to server here. we are going to scroll down. We got name here, good. I do want to change real quick here, description to name. And then I do want to go to, so we got calculator range and range calculation. So both of these should get changed to name. Oops. And then we go back over to server and do this here, name. So now we have all of our data coming in here nicely. Let's go ahead and check our terminal here. Let it relaunch here to see if it gets pissed off at us. Actually, let's do it clear here and just run this fresh. Fixed headers. I want to run this real quick just to see if any of this data that gets imported here is going to yell at us. So if we see any errors here in terms of when the server starts up, when it's trying to read in this data, we'll get a notification here. So let's watch. I think. So there's our client, here's our server. If anything was gonna break, I would break here with what we've been doing. I don't think so, I think we're good. It seems like we're importing everything correctly, which is awesome, cool. Okay, so, we do need, if I'm not mistaken here, we will need resource class. Now, if I'm not mistaken, we might, this might be a thing where we want to think a little bit and break apart our resource class type. So let's see here. So resource class data used to represent too many things. So it was representing any kind of resource that you could have in the game. So it could be like arrows or even like magic resource. That's not a really good way to conceptualize it. The reality is that these are just items. So the resource is another item. So I don't think we want to do it this way. I don't think we do. Like, I don't think we want to do this way at all. So we're actually going to just delete this. Because what we'll want to do is, or I think we want to break this apart. I think we want item, an item resource class, and then a weapon resource class, which actually I think I already have over here, don't I? And this is actually a very interesting part here. So the way this works right now is that a weapon class will have a tag on it over here where it says resource class, and this resource class represents, you know, hey, this weapon needs a bolt to shoot, or it needs an arrow to shoot, or it needs bullets to shoot. And so, hold on, I got a cough. Excuse me. Okay. But that's the way this worked over here, and that works really well. We don't, magic resource should really be its own separate thing, And yeah, magic resource really should be its own separate thing, and so we're going to handle it that way. So actually what we're going to do is in our resource class data here, we are going to be renaming this. So we don't want so like Fellblood, Ichor, Focus, these used to be magic resources. These are not going to be contained within a resource class. Is just going to be for like weapons and stuff. So we're going to get rid of this. And then we do want this. This is fine now. So then we can go over to here and we can uncomment this. And can I just do... because I use this everywhere in here, so can I just go ahead and copy this, and we're just going to replace this everywhere. Because right now, I did a F2 to replace a ton of stuff, but I ended up not replacing the stuff in the comments. So this should just take care of all of that for us. So then we need resource class. Okay, so we have our resource class data coming in now, which is awesome. Very good. Then we have our attribute and core skill data coming in. So this is what I did a little bit off stream yesterday when I was fixing up the original part of our when I was basically getting this to work, where you can do this very basic attributes and core skill stuff. So we already did all this for ourselves, which is awesome. We're going to change description here to name. I'm going to go to resource class data, change this to name. Let's commit some stuff. Fixed header. Imported resource class data. I'm stupid. Okay. So we did all that. Go back to our server. Okay, so this is where we are going to have to do some work around magic skills. This is actually really good to build this up. So, I changed some stuff with our game Fallen. So, if we go over to vocations, so under vocations, which are like these things over here. So on your character sheet, your class, instead of having a class because it's a skill-based, and actually, you know what, guys? I'm realizing that my headset's almost out of power. I'm gonna run upstairs and grab my charger. I'll be back in like 20 seconds. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. So we'll just charge my headset here. Okay. But essentially under here we'll have vocations. Your vocation is kind of like your class, and you can just make whatever skills you want under it. And similar to core skills, you can invest skill points in them if they are combat skills. If they're not, they just inherit whatever your level is of your actual vocation. So, what does that mean? If I go over to here in vocations, so there's combat skills and vocational skills. So, I can slightly alter this because, so we're actually going to have to go to our type here and change some stuff with our types. Because also under here, there really should be a section here. There should be technically the two kinds of combat skills are magic skills and weapon skills. So we're going to go over here and we're actually going to do some type work. So we're going to go ahead, close this, go do a, goodness, I guess we'll go to our Fogent Roleplay lib here. And we want to go to magic here. Or rather, yeah, we'll have to start at magic. Or can we start a vocation here? And this is where it gets a little tricky. I think what we'll want to do is start with magic, make a magic skill, and then work our way down. So we're going to start with magic, and we're going to work our way down. So what I want to do, I'm going to look at for reference here the way that I used to do it, which has this has radically changed. So there's not going to be much code we can reuse here, which is kind of fun actually, because then I don't have to worry about rewriting or bringing stuff over. I can just write new stuff. Oops, wrong one here. I need a new. We're going to do nix develop here. Go ahead and open up. We're going to do. So what we want to do here is just check to see the old way we do our magic. I'm pretty sure that almost none of this is going to be reusable. Oh, perfect. I'm right here. So if I do a. Why didn't that work? Okay, I guess it's just remembering. So for a magic skill, this is what I had before. So we're going to define a magic skill, and then with a magic skill, we'll build up to the vocation. So we're going to go over here. Under magic, we're going to say module, magic, skill, so equal here. So type magic. Okay, and a magic skill, it's going to have a skill. And if you don't know what a skill is, if I look, ooh, see, this is interesting now. So magic should be beneath skill and core skill. So magic should actually get moved here, because those are building blocks for magic. So those are like the most fundamental things. So I can do open skill. So each magic skill has a skill, and a skill is of type skill. And all a skill is, it has a name, a level, and a dice pool. which is awesome. And see, really, a a magic skill is a combat skill that has some other stuff tapped onto it. So actually we'll want to do a combat skill first. So we'll go up here. So even before this, we'll say module combat skill. And a combat skill, we're gonna need skill here, type, combat skill, and a combat skill has a skill. It has a it has governing attributes. And that should do her. And then we can do, well, now that we have our combat skill, we can go ahead and do our magic skill. So all the magic skill is going to be, and these types are going to, like, this is where it's actually the funnest part. When you work from the types down to your actual, like, you start with types and then you start implementing logic. If you really thought about your types, then your logic gets so much easier. It's so, like, I never want to go back to doing it the other way around. It's so stupid. So then our magic skill here will be a combat skill. And it's a combat skill. But then it's also going to have so it has a damage type associated with it, and this is because with your magic, right, you can actually use your magic and cast it, and depending on what type of magic, you can do different damage types. Some magic can do ranged attacks, some can't. Some can do melee attacks, some can't. And you also need to describe, hey, whenever I use this skill, what kind of magic resource am I consuming here? So, because of that, we need to account for all this. So then we can say that we need a damage types. So damage types. And then what was the other thing I needed? Range adjustments. I think I completely did away with this, which is good. So we're cleaning up our data. Hold on. Damage types, range adjustments. I don't think we even need this anymore. How come my, oh, we're in fallen data. I don't want to be over here. I want to be over here. I already did get rid of that. Nice. So then what we're going to do here, we have our damage types. We need to take in a melee capable, range capable, and a magic resource class. So then we can say... yeah, we'll just call it is melee capable. Is range capable. And then we can also say, last but not least, it's magic resource class. And we'll actually need to go implement this real quick. So inside of resource pool, we're just doing some stuff here. Magic resources, and a magic resource can be types. Okay, I think so. What we just did right here is that we just made, and really, whenever you do a type here where you're just mapping, saying, "Hey, magic resource is a string," I don't think, in terms of the compiler, this is gonna like, if you have a function that takes in a string, you could pass it a magic resource. It doesn't change any of that. That's where we use the map to act as like a dictionary whenever we're handling data and stuff. But what this does allow us to do is have, like, whenever we're feeding stuff into a function, it says magic resource. It's kind of just handy. And then eventually, if I ever, let's say, made like private constructors for each of these types, and where I only make it so that, I actually do make it even more robust in terms of what can get in and out of it, then we already have the groundwork laid, and we're already thinking that way. So magic resource here. So then a magic resource class. Whoops. Okay, so then I think we have a magic skill here. Now the question is, do I want to keep this as combat skill here? That is an interesting question. Well, regardless, let's commit this, because that's all good for now. I like where we got to. Added magic skill logic. So then the question is this even a combat skill, or is this a vocation skill? this is a little bit tricky here. So I think the best way to do this actually will be to, because essentially what we have now, under vocation you can have skills, and those skills can either be a weapon combat skill, a magic combat or a magic skill, or a vocational skill. Now, the challenge is, okay, you have those three. They share some similarities. So technically a magic skill is built up, it's partially a combat skill with extra stuff on top of it. And a vocational skill is very similar to a combat skill, but you just don't let the user change its level. So this is tricky. So what I need to do actually is just go ahead and try to represent it, and then I should be able to see kind of which way it takes me. And we're just gonna have to work through the type on stream and just try to figure it out. So what do I have down here? A vocational skill. So maybe what I do is a vocational skill is the base. Yeah, it's like the default case. It's actually, so maybe we do that. So the vocational skill is this one. We can do okay, so what we'll do, so vocational skill is a skill and a governing attributes, and then what we can do is construct up a larger type here, and we can call it module vocation skill or vocation skills. So vocational skill is a vocation skill. So vocational is like the lower level type. And I don't care if these names don't make sense at the moment. We're gonna just have to work through it. Say open vocational skill. So a type vocation skill. It's gonna be an OR type here. And it's either gonna be it'll either be a vocational skill, it'll be this has got to be beneath here. Okay, I like that. So we have vocational skill here. We can say of vocational. Then we can have a combat skill. And this is going to be of type vocational. This might get a little bit hairy in a second here. We'll figure this out. Hold on. We basically just gotta learn. We just gotta do it. So then here we're also going to go ahead and do a combat skill. We can open up combat skill here. And we're going to say of combat skill. And then we also want this to be of type magic skill. Okay, so we have vocational skills, combat skills, and magic skills. And it really shouldn't be combat skill, it should be weapon skill. Perfect. And then this will be weapon skill. I could have just F2'd and just done all this really easily, couldn't I have? Yikes. That's my bad. That was stupid. I wasted time. Okay. So then we have our vocational skill, weapon skill, and magic skill. And that is what a vocation skill is. And then a vocation... And actually, what's my old code look like? I'm just curious. Man, I did this such a bad way before. I can't tell if it's just the like there was some weird Phantomos, because I think Phantomos got updated recently where it's the way it lays some stuff out is different now. We are gonna have to read through this there and understand this though. Hold on. Let's go over here. Oops. We do need the vocation, module vocation. We're going to set this equal here to this. We're going to say, we're going to open up. We're definitely going to need our vocation skill. Type vocation. So a vocation should be a name, it should now if I want to automate magic vocations, then actually there needs to be two kinds of vocations. There needs to be a magic vocation and a mundane vocation. And you know, I just realized something. I can... We're gonna keep going here. Hold on. Wait, where's weapon? I can do this. Is that way this wraps this? Yeah, then the compiler will treat it differently. Good, good, good. Okay, so for a magic vocation, we're gonna do module, magic. And actually, hold on, wait. We don't even need this here then. We can just go down to here. There. And then we can say mundane vocation. And a mundane vocation is going to be of type mundane vocation. Okay. We got a mundane vocation. This guy is going to have a name, a level, and actually here, vocations can never be negative. So I'm gonna need a new type here, which actually I think I can steal from over here. Nice. Okay, we can say 0 to 5, and then this will have a dice pool associated with it. Okay, so we got our mundane vocation here. And then with the mundane vocation, we can build a magic vocation. And actually, for a magic vocation, I think we're just gonna handle this in vocation here then. And then a vocation is an OR type now. So it's either a magic vocation of mundane vocation. Oh, and then also a... Ooh, hold on though. No, these will need to be different. No, a... Ooh, see... Only a magic vocation can have magic under it. A normal mundane vocation couldn't have magic under it. So... So actually, the way we have vocational skills done is also incorrect. Really, there should be module mundane vocational or vocation skills. A mundane vocation skill. Okay, and the whole reason we're doing this is that this way the logic we can perform on this is so much stronger, and it'll make our life so much easier if we do it this way. It's funny, like this is just the way that I do it now, and all I know is that if I do it this way, my life gets easier. So we're going to do it this way. So our mundane vocational skill will be, it's actually not an and type, it's an or type. It's going to be either a vocational skill or a weapon skill, which is awesome. That's exactly what we want. So then we have a mundane vocational skill. We then want we have our magic skill. So that we have mundane vocation skill and we want magic vocation skills. And actually, can you have weapon skills under your magic vocation? I don't think so, no. So that even simplifies this even more, because if you have a magic vocation that lets you cast magic, like that's your wizardry, that's your weapon is your magic. You couldn't, you're not a martial class. You're not learning martials under there. You can have another vocation that lets you learn weapons adjacent to it. Okay. But you could have vocational skills, so you could have knowledge about things. Okay, this simplifies things a little bit. So what I'm going to do... Sorry, I was snagging some lunch over here while I'm thinking here. But I think I know what I'm going to do now. Okay, so what we're going to do is... So mundane vocation skill can either be a... And really it's more of like a... Okay. I think there's a mundane vocation skill, and there's also a magic vocation skill. Okay, so then what we can do here, yes, okay, this frickin' makes sense then. I frickin' love types, they're so powerful. So, so it's actually something I kind of specify when I do the character sheet template. Actually, I want to show this. So like on a character sheet template, we do differentiate from a default vocation, and we differentiate from a actual vocation or magic vocation, because if somebody wants, like let's say in our game in Fogent, if somebody wants to be able to, and they want to say, hey, I want to be able to be a wizard, but I also want to be able to use a sword. So they could have their and this is just an example right now, I'm like working through it in my head, but you could have your runesmith, which is just basically exactly like a wizard there. And then you could also have your warrior stat. So your combat skills would go under here, and they would build on over here with time. And then your runesmith stat here would go ahead and be for your magic and stuff. And so under your wizard stat, you couldn't put like medium sword or anything. But that doesn't mean you can't, because if you think about it, like wizards are, what is a wizard? A wizard is somebody that uses magic. They're not somebody that uses a sword. That's not to say that you're a wizard and you couldn't also be a warrior wizard. So you could have two vocations, and under one vocation, you could have your ability to swing your sword, and on the other one, you could have your ability to actually cast your magic. So that's even better. Yes. So we have a mundane vocation and a magic vocation. So magic skill of magic skill. And then we can also do open yes. So there's a mundane vocational skill, a vocation skill, and a magic vocation skill, and they are either vocational skills or magic skill, a magic and a vocational skill. And then you can say down here, we don't need this. We can have a mundane vocation and a magic vocation. So this will have a dice pool, and then it'll have a open magic or mundane rather. Mundane vocational skill, and then very quickly here we can do mundane and then mundane vocational skill list. Perfect. And then we have module, magic, vocation, and this is a open up. And all we're doing here is doing some clever typing. We're trying to reuse as much of our type that's common. That's one thing I figured out that's really good. If you go ahead and leverage the fact that a lot of your, like, if there's commonality between two things and you can extract that out into a smaller type and include those in both of each other, you define what things are like, where things are synced up, where things overlap, and it's actually really handy. So then we don't need this. So the vocation stat here is a name, a level, and a dice pool. And then we down here say that a mundane vocation is a vocation stat and then a magic vocation is a vocation stat and then a magic vocation. Awesome. And then all we have to do now, we've done, and this is so, oh, it's so good. Then finally all a vocation is, it's really simple. Vocation at this point is just either a magic or a mundane vocation. Mundane vocation, magic vocation, can I do capitalized stuff? Vocation, and then here, this is just an and type. This is freaking awesome. It's so clean. I love F sharp. So it's either a mundane vocation of mundane vocation, or it is a magic vocation of magic vocation. Wabam! Okay, so now we have our vocation. And that is really freaking clean code. Gosh dang. I'm gonna, hold on. So let's go ahead here. Oh, I love F sharp. It's so good. So we want, I'm just going to structure things here a little bit just so it looks cleaner. So we'll put the mundane stuff up by itself. Oh, this guy needs to be up top. Okay. Hold on. this guy. This guy comes up top here. And so then we have our vocation stat up top. Or maybe we should do it in the order that we had it before. Let's just leave it. Because I like the idea of doing the skills first, then doing the vocation stat. Because it needs, yeah, then doing the vocation stat, then doing the mundane vocation and the magic vocation, and then doing that. Awesome. And then building up to vocation. Excellent. Excellent. And also probably attribute and core skills should go above this here. Oh, hello, Schmeagle. Do you want to hop up and say hi? Here, if you're watching the stream right now. I don't know if my camera has frozen like it always frickin' does because I'm on Linux. And my driver just doesn't seem to want to work. Yay, look. If you're watching the stream. This is Schmeagle. He is an assistant coder today. What do you think of my code, sir? Is my code good? It is the best. Thank you, Schmeagle. Dude just wants the frickin' fried chicken I have on this plate right here. That is what he actually wants. See, if I turn him this way, oh, Schmeagle. If I turn him this way, all he's gonna be doing is looking over his shoulder here at that. He's such a little Schmeagle. Stop it, bro. You gotta chill. Either that, or I have to put you down. I'm trying to code. Dude, chill. He is like shivering right now. Schmeagle, it's just a little food. And I just fed him this morning. He is like, oh my gosh, this is funny. Oh wow. Like, adjusting my camera just made it short out. That's not good. Okay. Well, my camera has appeared to have stopped working because I adjusted it. So maybe it's actually something mechanical. Like, actually, maybe it's something that's wrong with the wires. No, Schmeagle. Okay, that's it. Get out. Get out. You're trying to jump up on the table, my man. Get out. Jeez. Crazy dog. Okay, well, my camera's not working. Actually, that makes me believe that my camera is not working because actually like, the wires are screwed up. That would make so much more sense. Because I can't figure out the driver reason why it doesn't work. Okay. So, what are we doing here? We are continuing forward. Yeah, I do like how things are structured here. Let's commit some code. Added that good logic. Added a bunch of logic related to vocations. What have I not saved? Let's go ahead and commit and push everything. So now we have vocation here. So let's see if we can't start importing over the magic skill data now from our server. Okay, so we are good here. Let's go to our server side. So now we can actually import in this magic skill stuff. So we can import in our magic skills. We will have to restructure this, and actually it'll be handy if we move this over here. And actually, we we don't just want to, well, we do want to import in all of our magic skills, but then we're also going to want to import in our, we're going to want to import in our, what's it called? We're going to want to import in, goodness, because what I'd like to do is structure it so that per vocation, a vocation comes with like, so for instance, if I'm a wizard, I have access to wizard skills. I can't do cleric stuff, I can only do wizard stuff. And so, what I can do, we'll import in all the magic skills, and then we'll have an adjacent file that maps each of the magic skills to the correct vocation. That's what we'll do. So we will just bring in all the magic skills, and magic skills should look like a magic skill, which looks like this. So that is a magic skill. We can go ahead up here at the top and open Fogent.magic skill. So it's going to take in a name. It's going to take in a damage type. Why is this getting angry at me now? Oh, this indentation's wrong. Why are you angry, sir? Okay. Yeah, it's not the types don't match up is all it is. Just fine, that's what I expected. So damage types is a, actually let's just read this. What is it saying? The record contains fields from inconsistent types. Inconsistent types? Maybe it just doesn't understand what this type is, so we'll say vocational skill. Okay, so so this is interesting. So interesting. So this is all correct. Now the problem is when this is getting imported here. So essentially what the problem is right here. Right now over here in magic skill, we have this data, but we don't have any data about like the level or any of that other stuff. This is just the like different pre-made magic skills that could exist. And here it's saying, hey, you said a magic skill has this other stuff about it here. We want that other stuff too. We want the other stuff too. So this is an interesting thing where I I could just give default values here, but that would kind of violate the point. Well, one thing that the see, this is interesting. It might be so interesting it might have to wait after lunch. But I kind of want to keep on grinding this here. Because this is kind of meta information. And then what I would like is that this gets digested over on the user side. But does it really need to? Isn't it fine if it's defaulted out here? Like, is that really a problem? I actually don't think it is. Because then I'm just storing a bunch of ones at level 0, and then whenever somebody clicks to say, hey, I want to add this to my sheet, we just add it in at level 0. And I think that's good. I think that's all you really need. Yeah. That honestly might not be such a bad idea. Because a vocational skill has governing attributes and a skill is a name, a level, and a dice pool. I think that's good. I think we want to add in the extra additional information it needs here in order to calculate. Now, actually, here's the problem, though. It can't calculate without reference to a character sheet, because it needs information about the attributes and stuff. Those information I literally don't have. I might just want to define a custom type that digests this information and then handle this conversion to a magic skill over on the person's character sheet. I think that might be the way. Yeah, because I have no reference to the person's level, so I can't calculate that dice pool. Which again means that it's not really a magic skill. It needs to be. What I'll do is I'll call it like magic or magic skill. Well, it's literally magic skill data, isn't it? And then I can pass that over, and then whenever the user under their vocation clicks that magic skill, then it'll add it to their sheet, and yeah. I think that's the right way to do it. So we do module, magic, skill, data. So I need everything here but the vocational skill. And then over here, instead of magic skill, we do magic skill data. Mm-hmm. And why is this guy angry? Is range capable? Okay. So we don't need range adjustment here. We can do is range capable. Say boolean row dot this guy range capable, and then we can say magic resource bam, and it's all happy now. So this will get us the magic skill data, and we're going to pass that across the wire. As for the magic combat data, so we actually don't need this anymore either, because this magic skill data here is we don't need it anymore because we're not going to map to magic combat, because magic combat now just uses our weapon classes. So actually we can just go to weapon classes and move on. I'm really digging this jazz. It's really good. We don't have weapon classes yet though. Okay. Save everything. Fixed magic. Skill data. Fixed magic skill data. Okay, and then what we're going to do, we need to implement weapon class. Okay. So we're over here. We want to go to our old fallen data here, and we want to look at the old way we did our weapon classes. We first need to do man, I simplified conduit so much. I'm so happy that I did. Oh, that's awesome. Actually, I'm gonna take a little bit of a break for like 10 minutes. I'm just gonna eat my food here, and then I'm gonna be back on here. So, BRB, grabbing lunch. Be right back. No. Okay, I've returned. I'm gonna get rid of my camera here because it just is broken. Turn that off. Okay. So, what are we doing? We are. Ooh, goodness. Some hot frickin' It's a hot drink. Jeez. Okay. So, hot. We are looking here at our weapon class. In order to find a weapon class, we are going to need... We are gonna need the weapon resource class. So then... Whew, hot. Okay, so we will grab this code here, and then we can import in our weapon resource class. Actually, I mean, technically we don't need it yet. We don't need our weapon resource class yet because we have resource class already. So I think we can wait a second here. We do need our weapon class stuff. Here is our weapon class. You can grab this code and throw it into our... So where is this gonna go? Well, it has to go, I think, below vocation. Item stats. Okay, this looks good. We should be able to import over our weapon classes now. We've got this now. He's angry because our... What's it called here? Formatting's all weird. Parse dice pool mod option string. I know I do have this somewhere. It's under... Did this get left under dice pool? No, it's under dice pool mod. Why is this not? Okay, good, and then area of effect option map. I Do need that. That should be... if I'm not mistaken. Man, I'm just having a brain fart right now. Fogent roleplay dot area. Okay. So we have the map. Okay. So that's all good. That all looks good. Let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. And conduit classes are just gone. Or they're here, but a conduit now doesn't have any item effects or like effect or status effects. Let's see if this is running first. Ooh. Good. We have something wrong here. It's saying that a bunch of these are wrong. Okay. Server.fs. The namespace weapon class is not defined. Line 17. I just don't think I had saved. Try it again. It looks happy now. Yep, we're good. Okay, so it's reading in all that data now. Perfect. Commit this. Added weapon class. So we don't even need magic combat here anymore, though. So magic combat can, I think, just get wiped out. Okay. Gotta commit these. We also don't need the conduit class anymore, or at least the conduit class has been, we do need the conduit class, but it's way simplified now. We also are going to grab all this other stuff here. I'm going to use the restroom real quick though first. Okay. So now we can do, I'd like to start implementing some more UI stuff. So we have a lot of information now. One thing I do want to change here, change this to name. Okay. Why is it asking for my password? That was weird. Alrighty, so what we can do now is start implementing the vocation logic. So we want to hypothetically we want to start passing over some of this information. So what we can do is go to our character, or actually we can start from the type. We start from the type. So then our character here is going to also have a vocation list. And it's going to be of type vocation, and it's going to be a list. Beautiful. And then, with our vocation here, we can do what? So we have our vocation. That means over here in character, we need to have a default vocation. So we need to start building up vocation. So then we need a new file called vocation.fs. I do wish there was a way. Actually, can't I just do... Yeah, instead of just copying this and moving it manually down every time, hold on. I can just take this and put this where I want. And I want it to be right above or right below character. So right here. Okay. So that's where vocation is now. And then we're gonna say, and actually it might be simplest to build each of the smaller parts first and then build up to here. So then we could also add, so it'll be vocation, and then within a vocation contains a within a vocation contains a mundane vocation and a magic vocation. And so we can start with a mundane vocation. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead here. I'm going to save this. I'm going to run over to the gym, and I might start this up back up again later. But for right now, I think we're good. We got some really good progress in, and but I got some things to do around the house, and got to go run to the gym. So, all right, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.